My name is Joseph Gorordo. I'm an LCDC. I am the chapter president for TAAP in Austin. So it's fun to come visit here in Dallas and see how things are a little bit different. I am also the director of outreach for Recovery Unplugged. True story though, I did apply to La Hacienda in 2010. I applied for a tech job as I was in the process of getting my CI license, and they never called me. I don't know if it had to do with my criminal background or what, but yeah, maybe I didn't have any good references for my previous employers. I don't know, but no, but I love La Hacienda. I actually had lunch with one of their guys yesterday. And so there's no ill will. As I mentioned, I do work for Recovery Unplugged. Sharva here is my guy for Dallas. He does outreach. Most of y'all know him. If you don't know him, raise your hand and I will get mad at him for you. Marcia doesn't know Sharva. But yeah, I'm really excited and grateful to be here today. I almost didn't make it. They were shutting down all the highways in Austin last night because it was icy and people still wanted to drive 80 miles an hour and there was all kinds of wrecks. But luckily, this morning I woke up and it was clear sailing. So here I am. And I'm also really excited to talk about what I'm talking about today. Because as a person in recovery, as a clinician, and as a musician, this topic is very close to my heart, and I have a lot of personal experience with the power of music. But also because I simply believe that as an industry, as a profession, right, as clinicians and treatment providers, we can do better, and we should constantly be striving to find new ways to reach our clients. It's not our clients' jobs to accommodate and adapt to what we do. It's our job to find where they're at and find a way to break through them. So I'm also grateful to you guys for being here to learn something new. That hopefully you'll walk away from here having a couple tidbits and some things that you can use in the future with your folks. Oh yeah, I need you to click for me. There we go. So I already told y'all about me, but I really like that picture. Go back to that picture. I like this picture. It was actually taken in Dallas at the recovery results thing last year. And it's been my Facebook profile ever since. So if you're friends on Facebook, you've seen it already. Anyway, now we can go. So what are our objectives today? We're going to talk about a lot of different things. Really, I could do a lecture series on incorporating music into clinical practice, probably like 6 separate hours of it. So this is really going to be just kind of an intro primer to understanding how music impacts the brain. To understanding how music impacts memory and how we can use that in clinical practice, and then a couple of other tools that you can use to take away and start using for yourself. So that's really exciting. Anyway, so in order to start us off, I wanted to do just a little kind of personalized activity for you guys to kind of bring you into my world as far as the music stuff goes, right? So everybody that feels comfortable, I'd like you to close your eyes. I'm going to play a couple songs, and I just want you to pay attention to how you're feeling right now, what your energy level's at, what your emotional state is at. I'm going to play a couple snippets of a couple different songs, and I just want you to notice if it changes the way you feel. All right? So, there, okay. You don't have to. Okay.
Give me a kiss to build a dream on, and my imagination will thrive upon that kiss. Sweetheart, I ask no more than this, a kiss to build a dream on.
can open your eyes now because those of y'all that continue eating, I understand you. Yes. So real quick before we go on, does anybody have anything they want to share? Just how they may have noticed that one or two of those songs may have particularly changed their mood, even if just for a brief second. Yes.
It just makes you smile. It made me smile. A lot of the different songs just made me smile. Yeah, makes you want to dance.
Makes you want to dance, right? On that September one, I really wanted to get to the chorus. You know that? Anybody else? Anything else? Anybody have any memories pop up tonight?
Well, it just transported me to different places. So I was like in a jazz club, and I was on the beach, and I was in a dance club. Like,
Very cool. Yes. Yes.
Takes me out of my issues.
Yeah, right? Like maybe you walked in here pretty stressed, right? And then you hear Outcast kick in, right? And it makes you feel good, right? It takes you out of stuff for a second. Anybody have any memories? Any of those songs pop up? Any kind of associations for you? Yes.
The first one reminded me of my mom and dad. And then the last one, my son, trying to
Turn it down!
But it was like female, right?
Yeah. Punk rock, early 90s. Pseudo punk. No? Did you mind?
I like the September song, but it reminded me of my ex, which is never good.
My bad. Yeah.
It reminded me of a youth band that stayed set up at my house from 7th grade through their freshman year in college.
Yes.
And how the walls shook.
Yes. Plaster dust falling from the ceiling.
Yes, yes.
Do you ever hear that?
Yeah, the rendition of Somewhere Over the Rainbow
Yeah.
reminded me when Dr. Mark Green died on ER.
It's actually a big funeral song. It's a big funeral song. I've heard it at several funerals personally. So yes.
Me one too. I recently started karaoke.
If you want to sing, awesome. So just in this setting where it's like a professional setting, we all came here. We had different reasons for being here, right? We got suits on and stuff, so we're not like in our total most relaxed states for the most part, right? But those songs were an interrupt, right? They took you somewhere either emotionally, in your memory, or wherever that you weren't expecting, right? You didn't walk in here wanting to think about your son's punk rock band, right? But there you go, right? You didn't come in here wanting to think about the sad episode of ER, but you thought about it, right? So it's very intrinsically tied, and I just wanted y'all to kind of get that baseline understanding of it right off the bat, right? So don't click it. So what's really cool is that we have known for millennia that music is powerful, right? There's a reason that they play music in church. There's a reason that they play music in all these different kinds of spiritual rituals. There's a reason they play music at your yoga class, right? There's a reason that they play music in movies, right? A while back, somebody sent me a clip of Star Wars without the music. And when Darth Vader walks in without that Imperial March, he's not scary. So we've known this, and we've applied it in a lot of different areas. And music connects to something other, right? Something deeper, right? But in the last few decades, with fMRI technology and PET scans, we've been able to see how and why it does that in our brains. So the Western medicine and science is finally catching up to this like intrinsically primal, intimate knowledge that we've had about music, right? And what they saw is that they did scans with different people doing different activities, reading, watching TV, knitting, whatever, right? And they lit up different parts of the brain. And they were able to say, like, this is the part of the brain that's engaged for this and that. When they had people listen to music, they saw fireworks in people's brains. It lit up multiple areas of the brain. And they started to realize that when we listen to music and process the sound, our brain is taking that apart, right? It's interpreting the melody, it's interpreting the rhythm, it's bringing up the memories that we have associated to it, and it's doing all that in real time and putting it back together into the experience that we have while we're listening to music. So it engages all these different areas of the brain just by listening to it, right? Now we can click it. Now, even more powerful than that is the act of playing music, because when we're playing music, along with dancing as well, is we're incorporating the mathematical part of our brain from counting the rhythms. We're incorporating our fine motor skills from playing the bass guitar, doing all that kind of stuff, to where what happens is it's like a workout for your brain, right? It's building up executive function in your brain and stimulating different areas of the brain through this non-invasive, really natural way, right? And if you're of the school of thought that believes that addiction is a brain disease, and that is the organ that has the root defect of this disease, then we need to work on the brain. And this is a fantastic way to get to that because it's stimulating all these different parts. So left brain, right brain, right? So I'm listening to a song, right? I'm listening to the rhythm, right? So the mathematics side of my brain is engaged, right? I'm also listening to the words, and the linguistic side of my brain is also engaged over there, right? But simultaneously with that is the novel, creative, imaginative side of my brain is engaged. And there's signals firing back and forth across what's called the corpus callosum, which is that middle part of the brain, right? So it actually builds up people's ability to engage both sides of the brain simultaneously, right? What does that mean? Why do we care? How does that work for substance abuse? Well, what we found is that when we build up the corpus callosum, people have increased problem-solving skills, right? And when people come to us, they got plenty of problems that they don't know how to solve, right? At the same time as it builds the executive function, which I talked about earlier, which helps them with planning, strategizing, and attention to detail. It helps control impulses, right? It helps us to imagine future scenarios and make decisions based on them, right? So these are all things we want our clients to improve on, right? We want them to be less impulsive, and we want them to make better decisions, and we want them to be more self-reflective. We want them to strategize and take part in their treatment and help plan and foresee for what's going to be coming towards them when they get out of treatment and start to enter the real world again, right? So just on this level, we can see so many different ways that the music has this impact on everybody, right? Even if you have a client that says that they don't like music. Right, forward. So the other really important thing is that with memories, in the filing system of our brain, with music, we assign multiple tags to certain songs and pieces of music, right? We assign time tags, right? That's how I can tell you what year stuff was, because I remember what music I was listening to in that year, right? I see some nods. Other people do it too, right? So we assign to it, a conceptual tag, right? This is rap music, or this is rock music, right? We assign to it an emotional tag. We assign to it a time signature tag. We assign to it relationships, right? We have songs that we associate with different people. I have an ex-husband back here, right? So for me, one of the ways it's really powerful as a musician, if y'all will indulge me for just a second, for me, one of the things that's really cool is being able to play guitar and sort of sing, is that when I play certain songs, it brings up certain memories for me. So I'd like to play for you guys a song that my grandfather really liked. He passed away about 6 years ago. And, memories fade. They do, right? But when I play this song and a couple other songs that he liked a lot, it comes back. I can remember the smell of his lotion and remember the smell of his truck, just like dustiness and like this old Stetson cowboy hat that he had, and one of those things that puts your hat on the roof of a truck, and I can remember his voice and all these other things that I can't just pull up normally. Or if I do, I pull them up in more of a logical sense, not here, right? So I'm gonna sing this song, and I'm not the greatest guitar player. I am not the greatest singer, but I'm gonna do it anyway. And it's in Spanish, because it's Mexican. He didn't speak English. I'm sorry. Sé que hayas nacido en la cara buena del mundo. Yo nací en la cara mala, llevo la marca del lado oscuro y no me sonrojo si te digo que te quiero y que me deje, eso te deje, eso ya no me da miedo. Había sido, sin dudarlo, la más bella de entre todas las estrellas que yo vi en el firmamento. ¿Cómo ganarse el cielo cuando uno ama con todo el alma? Ves el cariño que te tengo, no se paga con dinero. ¿Cómo decirte que sin ti muero y no me sonrojo? Si te digo que te quiero y que me dejes o te deje, eso ya no me da miedo. Había sido, sin dudarlo, la más bella de entre todas las estrellas que yo vi en el firmamento. Justin Bieber doesn't even know. But it's powerful, right? It's powerful. It's a tool that we have that we can harness, and there's all these different applications and connections, right? I was talking to somebody just before I started doing this presentation, and he shared with me a story about doing some work with an Alzheimer's patient.
Yeah, it's a better rehab.
Yeah. And how there was a man that they were trying to reach with music, and it wasn't reaching him. And then she sang a song that was native to this man, and he came alive. And y'all seen those Alzheimer's videos, right? What's more important in the music is what the person attaches to it, not necessarily what it's considered in kind of, most people think of classical music as calming, right? But if you don't have that association with it, it's not going to calm you, right? So for this man, all this music they were playing did nothing for him. But when she sang a song that was native to him, it worked, right? With the Alzheimer's patients in those videos, they're not playing them songs, from today, right? They're not playing, Kendrick Lamar and all this other stuff. They play songs from when they were young and when they were teenagers, right? So it's the person's relationship to the music. They've done some studies where they do, prior to somebody going into surgery, they play for them music that they like. And they report less pain on the other side of the surgery with less medications, right? It's not just clinical, it's medical. We see it everywhere, right? So yeah, going forward. The last thing to know about music is it produces serotonin and dopamine, which are basically the only two things that make us happy, right? And we also know that the addict's brain is deficient in dopamine and serotonin, right? When people like myself get off of drugs initially, right, we feel worse, not better. We're depressed and anhedonic, and we don't know how to communicate anymore, right? So listening to music and playing music is going to generate dopamine and serotonin, which is going to help me feel better, which is why I did drugs in the first place, right? So that I feel good, right? So just a couple of different things about the brain. So any other questions about the brain stuff before we move on? Okay, great. So who exactly can benefit from music, right? What's the population? I get this a lot just because Recovery Unplugged, where I work, uses music in just about everything that we do. And people are like, well, what if this person's not, a musician? Doesn't matter. What if they don't really like music that much? Doesn't matter. What if they don't like music at all? I don't know that person. I don't want to meet that person. So, and the truth is that it works with anybody, right? Young, old, black, white, Hispanic, affluent, lower socioeconomic status. It doesn't matter. Everybody, unless you're a sociopath, has a relationship with music. So this is not a narrow subset of like, these are the people that I can use music with. Absolutely everybody can benefit on some level from having music incorporated into their treatment, right? So how do you actually do that? So the way you incorporate music into clinical sessions is you buy yourself a guitar, you go get lessons, spend a couple years getting good and taking some singing training, right? As I clearly have, and then you'll be able to use it. No, I'm just kidding. You don't have to play a guitar, you know. Everybody's got a phone in their pocket, right? Everybody has the ability to pull up music anywhere they want, whenever they want, at all times, ever, right? So anybody can incorporate this. You don't have to be a music therapist. You don't have to be musically trained. And just disclaimer, right? I'm not teaching you guys anything about music therapy because I'm not a music therapist. I'm talking about therapy with music. Very distinct. This guy is a guy named Victor Hugo. He seems like the least music. If this dude walked into your office looking like that, right, you wouldn't think, let me play this guy a song, right? But he said that music expresses that which cannot be put into words and that which cannot remain silent, right? So even kind of a grumpy-looking dude from the 1800s can benefit from music, right? So this is the first easiest way to apply music, right? It expresses that which cannot be put into words and that which cannot remain silent, right? I don't know about you guys, but most of the clients I've worked with over the past almost 10 years are not the best at expressing themselves in healthy ways, especially when we start talking about more difficult subjects, things like shame and guilt and remorse, regret, death, right? They're not good at that kind of stuff, right? We talk about how the brain kind of stunts when an individual starts using, and usually that's in their teenage years. So teenagers aren't really good at talking about anything, really. But when you have a client who's trying to express something to you and maybe they're not finding the words or you're not receiving the message the right way that they're trying to express it, asking them to share with you a song that talks about what they're trying to tell you is a really powerful way to relieve their anxiety and give them some tools to express that they didn't know they had, right? Even when we're talking about things like emotional intelligence, right? Most people get sober and they're able to feel like anxiety and depression and pretty much nothing else in between, right? Let alone like the subtleties of remorse, regret, jealousy, all these other kind of smaller shades of emotions, right? But I bet you they can tell you a song that sounds the way they feel, right? So you can do this in your sessions. Just stop when you feel this kind of friction coming and ask them if they can identify a song that ties to it and take a moment and listen to it. Like really listen to it. Don't judge what genre of music is. Try to hear what they're hearing because it doesn't matter what the genre is, right? It doesn't matter. What matters is their connection to that music, right? Print out the lyrics, right? We do this a lot with adolescents, right? Me and Marjorie were talking earlier about adolescents. I'm like, well, what are 25-year-olds if they're not adolescents, right? Print those lyrics. Review those lyrics with them. At Recovery Unplugged, sometimes we have clients that come in and they're very much connected to that persona, right? Drug dealing, drug slanging, criminal, running around, and they want to listen to that music, right? And we're like, no, you can't listen to music about selling cocaine. We don't do that. What we do is we say, well, let's look at the lyrics to this. What about this attracts you, right? What is this doing for you? What in this message resonates with who you are, and does it resonate with who you want to be, right? Do this with your clients. Ask them. Don't restrict them on what type of music. Find out what it means for them, right? Anyway, Victor Hugo. This lady just looks really happy. I like her. Yeah. This is what I look like when I'm driving home from Dallas in the car. So for this, and I already hit on it a little bit, but I can't emphasize enough the personalization aspect of it. We talk about individualized care. This is a really cool way to get to the core and connect with your clients and personalizing. So remembering that your associations with music are very strong, and then in most cases, right, what it means to you is not what it's going to mean to somebody else, right? That Somewhere Over the Rainbow song, to me, it brings up a lot of funerals and really sad funerals, right? But they also use it at the end of movies for really nice happily ever after kind of stuff. So maybe for you it's different. I don't remember why I have this slide. This is the first time I've done this one, y'all. The listener's preferences about the type of music they were listening to had the greatest impact on brain connectivity. Oh yes, this is the interesting part. So, when you're encouraging your clients to listen to music and analyze the music and identify what it does for them, what it actually builds up on is internally focused thought, empathy, and self-awareness. It's called the default mode network, and they actually have the fMRIs that show the blood flow to this part of the brain. And so what it helps is to build stronger connections to it by having them listen to music that they like in a clinical setting. So yeah, I think these two pictures were meant to make like empathy. There's empathy right there, self-awareness. Because he's like looking at himself. Sort of, I don't know. So I mentioned earlier, right, we've got phones. You can use them anywhere to listen to any kind of music. So that's a coping mechanism, a coping tool that your clients have carrying around with them 24/7. Even if you have like not an iPhone or an Android, but like even like a Cricket phone, you know, it doesn't have to be like a brand name phone. They all have music on them now, right? All of them. A while back, there's a company that was their whole thing was like, this phone sucks, but you get 10 free songs a month. And they were like, okay. And they sold some of them. But when you're working with your clients in the session, right, to help them connect to memories, emotions, identify all these different things, you can also help them build it as a tool they can take with them into the real world, right? So you have them identify things like, you know, if a client is struggling with anxiety, have them identify songs that they associate with calmness, right? If they're struggling with anger around certain relationships, have them identify songs that they associate with happy times in those relationships, right? All our clients hate their parents, right? So you work with them and you help them find a time. Maybe they were 8 years old on a road trip with mom and dad, and they sang that Ain't No Mountain High Enough song in the car while they were driving through whatever, right? But if they can find that song that they associate with a positive time in that relationship, it grounds them, it brings them out of that anger, and it starts to build that connection in their brain that, hey, this can be like this again. I can think of this person and feel towards this person the same way again, right? You can flip that and turn it to them. What's a song that reminds you of a moment that you were really proud of yourself, that you were really happy, you know, before all the drug stuff and all that kind of stuff? What's a moment that you can identify as pure, unadulterated joy? Find that song, put it on your phone, and use it for when you're depressed, for when you're unmotivated. At Recovery Unplugged, we do two cool things around this kind of stuff. One is something that we call recovery triggers. So we ask them, you know, what are some songs that remind you of why you want to be sober, right? A lot of times, especially with the parents, you know, they'll bring up, you know, there's a song that my daughter sang in her 3rd grade recital, and that song reminds me of how it feels to be a dad and why I want to be sober. Great, use that song. When you don't want to go to group, listen to that song. Remind yourself, all right? So instead of talking to them about, oh, if you relapse, you're going to lose this and you're going to lose that, and you're going to go to jail, and that stuff doesn't get people sober, y'all. You know, if sobriety is about running from a burning building, eventually I'll get far enough away from that burning building that I can just stop. All right. One of the things that we need to do is identify what it is that we're running towards. So by creating this recovery triggers, identifying them, you can keep them motivated and keep them focused on what it is that they're trying to do. Right. And sometimes they come up with silly responses, and you just go with it. There's this song, I think Rick Ross sings it. It's called "I'm a Boss." He just says "I'm a boss" over and over again for most of the song, right? But we had a client a while back that, you know, he had owned his own company and stuff, and at the very end, you know, he was working like an Applebee's or something, and just felt completely degraded and below his station and whatever. One of his big things is, I want to start my own company again. I don't want to work for anybody. And he's, I'm a boss. All day, you know. But there's all kinds of different ways to do that, to identify things, to keep people moving forward, right? And I try not to restrain clients in this as well, right? So there's no music, there's no songs that are off limits, but also there's no motivator that is beyond their reach, right? I try to teach them that they can't put limits on what their recovery is going to give them. And so if this guy says he wants to be a CEO of a Fortune 500 company, listen to Rick Ross, like, go for it, man. Do it. The other thing is what we call the recovery playlist, right? So when we're talking about 12-step stuff, right? a lot of times these concepts can be difficult to personalize, and difficult to really grasp, especially if we're working out of, the big book has some really archaic language in there that a lot of times the younger clients have difficulty connecting with, right? So we'll tell them, take step one, right? And find the song that completely embodies this step for you, right? I have one on my Spotify playlist in my pocket right now. So my step one is there's a song by a band called Perfect Circle. It's called Weak and Powerless, right? Boom, good to go, right? I have, what's another good one? Johnny Cash. I have to talk about Johnny Cash because I'm wearing all black today. He's got this song called I Hung My Head. It's about a little boy who accidentally shoots somebody and kills them, right? And he's playing and he hangs his head, right? He's ashamed of himself. And so for me, that is my fifth step. That's my fifth step song right there. But this gives clients a way to connect with in a very personal way these concepts that they may struggle to connect with and really personalize. So just telling them, here's all 12 steps. On one side of a sheet of paper, here's another column. Write a song that ties to that step for you or the principle behind that step for you. I did that recently with the Recovery High School in Austin. And we were doing this thing where we were going in once a month to work with them. They hated me. They hated everything I did. And then we did the recovery playlist thing. And I was really skeptical. I handed them these sheets. I'm like, I'm going to be back next month. Bring your sheet. We'll listen to some songs off your thing. And there's about 20 of them. And I was like, if I can get 2 of these kids to bring back the playlist, it'd be great. All but one of the kids brought back their playlist, and they were all super hyped to talk about it and share, like that's your fifth step song? Nah, this is my fifth step song. This is way better. They were not impressed by my fifth step song at all. But
What was it?
I hung my head. I'm not paying attention. Yeah, I mean, I want to find it right now just so I can share it with y'all. I hung my, I'm not going to play the song. I don't want to depress you guys. You don't listen to Johnny Cash on the radio. I mean, I did, but I was the only one. Where is it? Here we go. No, that's not there. I don't know how to work my Spotify, you guys. There we go. Found it. Number 2 was The Middle by Jimmy Eat World, step 2. Step 3, right, making a decision, I put Are You In by Incubus. I lied. Step 4 was I Hung My Head. Step 5 was a song by a band called the Anti-Nowhere League. It's called So What. Step 6, Used to Get High by the John Butler Trio. Step 7, Colorblind by the Counting Crows. Step 8, I don't know what my reasoning for this is. It's a song called Makeout Club. Jimmy Glass Heroes. Step 9, Maybe I'll Come Down by Soul Coughing. Step 10, All These Things That I Have Done, The Killers. Step 11, King of My Heart, John Mark McMillan. And step 12, Man on Fire, Edward Sharpe and the Magnetic Zeros. Right? I feel good just reading those song titles out loud to you guys. But I have that on my phone. I'm on the road. I'm driving to Dallas. Maybe I'm not feeling so great. I can listen to those songs and I know where they're going to take me. Right? So just a couple cool ways to incorporate it. Another one that's a little bit more in depth, is drumming. Right? There's been a ton of research on drumming, drum circles, the ability to connect with others through them, the ability to relieve anxiety and stress through the act of drumming. I have a 6-year-old. His name is Jackson. He is crazy. We tried to teach him piano. He could not get into it. We gave him some drums, and he actually behaves better at school now because he's playing drums. Right? They're electronic. They've got headphones, so I don't have to hear it. But we actually have research that indicates that people who regularly drum, whether it be professionally, just drumming at home, in a clinician's office with a group, it accelerates physical healing, right? Like after surgeries, they use it a lot in rehab centers like that. It boosts the immune system. It reduces tension, anxiety, stress, and has also shown promise in the area of managing chronic pain. Right? There's this really cool doctor in Port St. Lucie, Florida. I believe his last name is Matthews. He's doing a ton of research on incorporating music into treatment of individuals with chronic pain with drug dependence in order to help treat them without giving them more drugs. All right. So for the drumming stuff, Dallas is a big city. Yes.
Can you repeat that one more time? Accelerate healing process.
Accelerates physical healing, boosts the immune system, reduces tension, anxiety, and stress, and helps to control chronic pain.
Thank you.
No problem. So Dallas is a big city. If you were to get on Google and look for free Dallas drum circle group, guarantee there's one like tonight. Right? And they can go, and normally these places, they just have, they're usually sponsored by drum shops, and they've got like 40, 50 drums just laid out. Your clients don't have to buy anything. They can just go and try and connect with a group of people and do this thing and see how it works. It doesn't cost them anything. You can go to Guitar Center, buy a little hand drum. Cheapest decent ones are like $25. Put it in your office. Just leave it there. When it feels right, grab it, hand it to a client. You seem really angry. Show me your anger on this drum. For real, works. So moving on from drumming. Here we go. So those are kind of the clinical tools in different kind of really simple ways. You can get a lot more in depth into things like songwriting, finding there's a lot of neurobiology to it, to where you can get into things where they're using certain alpha waves and beta waves to elicit certain responses in the brain, basically hacking the brain through something called binaural beats. We can get really, really in depth about it, but that's just a handful of tools that I think that just about anybody should be able to take and start using today. Right? So I mistimed this a little bit, so I still got like 20 minutes. I was hoping to have like 10 left over. Hopefully you're all going to have some questions, but I did want to share this quote with you guys. This is something that really resonates with me, as I mentioned, as a clinician, a musician, and a person in recovery. John Petty, who we lost out here, said that music is probably the one real magic I've encountered in my life. There's not some trick involved with it. It's pure and it's real. It moves, it feels, it communicates, and does all these incredible things. I truly believe that music does incredible things. We've talked about how it helps to manage pain, accelerates the healing process, can help with anxiety, stress, substance abuse, building self-esteem, all these amazing things that people struggle with, that we can use music to help them heal from. Right? So I hope that this gives you a little bit of encouragement and excitement, something to go explore. There's a ton of cool research that you can find online. Does anybody have any questions before I kind of wrap it up? Any questions at all?
I have one.
Yes.
So you talk about playing music, like literally playing instruments.
Yeah.
Is singing also beneficial?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So
The
not
instrument
just
of the
internal,
voice.
but using the vocals.
Yes. Singing. The only thing that singing doesn't have on playing instruments is the fine motor skills. Because that's what we're talking about, fingers and stuff like that. When singers do all this stuff with their hands, it doesn't count. But singing has more benefit than just listening to music, but not quite as much as playing a fluid voice. Anything else? Yes.
Also, I don't know if you've experienced this, but I use music a lot with my clients, and so just I'm sure that you've experienced this, and before everybody goes out and does it with their clients. Teenagers, oftentimes when you say bring in a song, I don't know, I look like the age of a lot of my teenage clients' mom. So they'll try to see, like, are you cool enough? And sometimes they'll pick, like, the song they think that you're going to give the same reaction as their mom. Like, they'll pick that song first to test you.
Yes.
Like, to be like, are you going to freak out? Do you find that?
Yes.
With your,
yes.
like, with the high
So
school
when I was
students
working
or
with the high school kids, one of the first groups I did with them, this kid, I said, what's the song that makes you think about recovery? And the kid chose the song Drank Up in My Cup. And anybody familiar with Houston rap knows the song, right? Just trying to get a rise.
So just
right?
know that, but like, just be like, tell me about the lyrics, and be curious. And it opens them up so much. Like, I mean, it is the fastest thing, because they're so like, are you gonna be like my mom and be like, no, do it.
Yes.
And then when you don't do that, you're just curious. Tell me about it.
Yes, definitely. So in kind of what I was talking about, like, it doesn't matter what you associate with it, it matters what they associate with it. It's like, keep it open-minded to whatever genre. Don't pretend to like it if you don't like
you don't
it.
have to say you like it. You
Right.
just have to be curious about why you like it.
But
Tell me
yes,
about it.
be curious about the client and their relationship with that music. Yes, excellent.
So do you encourage people to like sing and play instruments that don't usually want to do that?
Yes.
Yeah, I assume that's like a huge confidence booster.
Yeah, definitely. I'll tell y'all, so like where I work, a lot of people think, right, you have to be a musician to go there, right? We had this kid a while back who he was like, I'm not a musician, I'm not a poet, I don't none of it. And so we do this group once a week called Open Mic, where we encourage everybody to get up and do something in front of the group. We don't care what it is, interpret a dance, share a drawing, but stand up in front of the group and do something. We've got a little stage, we've got some lights and stuff, and it's real cool. All the staff comes out, and we try to kind of hype it. And this kid never wanted to do anything, and finally on the second to last day of treatment, he's like, I have a drawing I'd like to share. And he pulls out this drawing on a piece of white printer paper. He did it in pen. There's a smiley face on one side, and there's a skull. And he gets up, and he's like, this is me while I was using, right? And it's a skull. And he's like, this is me now that I've been sober for 28 days at that point, and it's him smiling. And it doesn't seem like a big deal, right? But it's not about his art. It's that he got out of himself, he got uncomfortable, he got up in front of his peers, he shared something that he created, right? And this was a benzo kid, so his anxiety was real. And I mean, I didn't cry, but I had that feeling here that like if I roll with this, I'm gonna cry a little bit, and seeing him do that. So yes, we definitely encourage clients to get up and move. Well, we do a thing in the mornings. This might be good for some of your clients who come in with a really low energy level, is we do what we call a pump-up group. So we play something really hype, like Earth, Wind, and Fire, or Outkast, or I don't know, Black Eyed Peas, are they still a thing? But just something super positive, right? Something with a good beat, a lot of energy, and we tell them, like, get up, dance. It's 8 in the morning, let's dance. Here's a little egg shaker, shake your things, whatever. And it's the change in the energy of the group from 1 moment to 2 minutes later is incredible. So yes, we always encourage them to do that kind of stuff. And you can take that with you too. Anything else? Any other questions at all? Yes.
Whose phone is that?
That's Tom Petty.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you, and I'm sorry.
No.
I listen, I don't speak.
He's free falling. He won't back down. He doesn't like dancing with Mary Jane. Any other questions, you guys? Thank you guys. Oh, yes. Woo! Wait. Everyone.
I have a comment.
Yes.
I really appreciate you giving us new ideas to take away from.
Yes.
I think it covers all the spectrum of like levels of care.
Yes.
And some really fresh ideas. Like sometimes when we have presentations, some of the topics are very heavy. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But even to walk away and like know that we sat there and listened to music just to test how we felt about it, right? And then to be able to see how there's so many good ideas, like the recovery playlist or like the pump-up group in the morning is fantastic. Thank you.
Cool. Thank you guys.
Thank
Have a
you.
good day.
Do you have online a list of activities that you're doing that we can go into?
I don't. And even on the company website, I don't think they get into like the specifics of the groups. But if you shoot me an email, I can send you kind of our internal stuff. We're really open about sharing our groups and all that stuff. All right. Now you can clap for real.